So we're starting things off with what seems to be an interesting turn. First of all, everybody's in contact. Of course, last turn nothing happened. No combat happened, at least. But Burnside's is active. This is the Confederate reinforcement pick turn. This is actually a really great place to start the new video because this is where the tenor of the game may shift. And what else? We have rain, which kind of stymies this attempt to slide around the flank here. I've actually got real infantry down here, but they're beyond their supply line already, which means I can basically fight one round of combat, dragging those mule trains with me. I'm limited to one area per turn, but honestly, with this game, I feel like I'm pretty much limited to that if I'm in close contact with the enemy. You don't want to force march much in this. The risk of stragglers can be too heavy, unless you've got a lot of troops that you're, trying to push forward real quick. Because, there are times when you force march. There's no question. I haven't felt much need. These guys might, but not now, not during the rain probably. But we've got a situation where this outflank is beginning to develop. The Confederates probably can't stand against it. A lot of interesting stuff going on all at once. Part the Union is not taking any chances. There's some weirdness going on up here, but yeah, we're not launching attacks over here, even though Confederates are going to get reinforcements. We're relying on that outflank. Possible cav moving over there to threaten that piece. This guy doesn't have a way across the mountains here, so his choices are either through this space or work his way back. This is very, very restrictive terrain in this game because of the no traveling through the rough areas without roads. What else? Went with a cav probe here. It did not work. I rolled a die to see, because Burnsides could move here. This would give him a couple of options, etc. But I'm going to try to force that just to make my way across the river as quickly as I can. And it turns out that is the right move, actually. I was hoping to have some information from the cav, but there's basically nothing there. So we get through, and that brings us to the interesting side of the Confederate turn, where we do the chit pick and all that. And remember, the Union's not aware at all of what reinforcements are going to be coming and when. And that's kind of important because this road, might be unimportant to them. And if it is unimportant, they should be moving their army off back onto the map. But they can't chance that. Chit cup out for 3 of these chits seems like a horrible idea. By the way, I found out about the numbering system. So there's one game in this series I don't have, which was sort of the prototypical game. It was on the Gettysburg campaign. God, I would love to see that. I ended up, while looking for that, I ended up picking up Summer Storm by the same company. I don't think it's the same designers, but I'm not positive. I should look. There it is. Well, they don't put the designer prominently the way some companies do. They did in the on the rule book at least, but because it looked really interesting, but it's kind of messy too. Hey, it's Clash of Arms, man. I mean, I would have made my way through Dresden if I liked the Labatt series better, but I hate the finickiness of miniatures type movement on. Anyway, so where am I? Yeah, for the series. So this is like number 7 in the series. Apparently, there are a bunch of them that were proposed but aren't likely to get done. The designer had a roadmap, but for personal reasons and whatever, stopped being interested in completing the series. But the Gettysburg one, I would love to get my hands on that. It seems to be a bit of a rarity, though. So these four are kind of the main ones of the series. Plus that, like I said, is prototypical. It doesn't have the regular rules. Anyway, back to this. Because getting a chit cup doesn't make a lot of sense, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't even know what those are. And determine that this way. It's kind of funny because the game is obviously designed to be a two-player game with limited information at the chip pull in this case, etc. But I find this better solo, I think, than I would opposed in a lot of ways. The hidden information, maybe it stresses me too much opposed. It does what it's supposed to do. But with the way the rules are and interpretations of things and everything, man, I think it would be easier. Okay, so we got this middle one. Now, I'm going to just, what you'd basically have is something like this. Those two would stay in the cup, and I got something that I should read here. I get the moderate level of reinforcements. Okay. The reinforcements for this turn, if you're in moderate or maximum, you get 1 division here, Lydell. And you can assign it to any commander you like in NR's condition. And he gets to start rolling once he's linked up with his commander. Right now he's quite far away. I should probably tilt him or something to indicate that he's not really in command, so he's not going to be he's not going to be able to roll for trusted subordinate. But this is the closest. It's D.H. Hill. Hill's a good person to have him under, I think. Certainly don't want him under Stevenson because, or Stewart, because Stewart's a lower ranking general, so he's not in that, must be in command. D.H. Hill has to be in command. It seems like it's safer to have him there. That might allow me to extend my line if I could get him up there quickly enough, but I don't think there's enough time to do so. So we shall start moving the rebs. Comes to mind that I really do like about this series. It makes it not trivial because it's a game that's supposed to be more about maneuver than, slamming your armies together and seeing what happens. I'm kind of dumb in that way, but the way this game works and the fact that it's so clearly about the maneuver means that I feel kind of guilty when I fight a round of combat. I didn't feel that way so much with the Lee Takes Command one, where you really have to grind, and I didn't feel that way so much with the Mississippi fortresses. But I definitely felt that way with marching through Georgia, where it's not absolutely clear. You don't want to fight a battle if you don't know that you need to do so. So like the Union, let's see if I can force them out of there. Now, on the other hand, you're going to have to fight those troops at some point. Maybe Chattanooga is a better place to fight them than down in these hills over here. I'm not sure, but I certainly don't want to fight them when I'm outnumbered the way I feel like I am. There's no more Union coming in, though. And that's one factor to keep in mind, is that the Union has to take quite a bit of space. The victory conditions to this are what you can take, not what you casualties do fit in, but they're pretty limited in terms of their impact on this. It's the ineffective units that count as, I don't remember if it was a half or a third of a victory point. But I mean, you're really looking at, if you can take 1, 2, 3 regions without fighting, maybe you can make up the rest in an easier way. The problem is, of course, you don't know how big the Confederate reinforcement pile is. So if you're assuming the worst, You got to kind of assume the worst in both ways. You might get slammed by a huge Confederate army, which can push you back, or you might have to take 5 areas. We got 3 up there. There's the 4th, and the only remaining one is here. And the rest, you know, you got like, I think that's the equivalent of an infantry. And you could do some on casualties, but you can't do casualties unless you fight the big battle. And of course the Union can lose Chickamauga pretty easily. Okay, those 2 are largely holding the line. Some cav isn't really that big a danger at this point yet. I'm able to trace from here 1, 2, 3, 4, which I know is in range. I think my range is 6 minus 1 because of supply problems. The only thing that I'm doing is I'm playing some games with cav. So here, I created some uncertainty. Likewise, here, I'm launching a threat, a real one, over there. Oop, forgot this cav. Let's get them marching up. I don't have any more cav dummies. There's a lot of them playing around down here. You can see I'm consolidating the forces at Knoxville. If Burnside is going to come close, yeah, I mean, I can't really protect that rail line completely unless he just doesn't move. So all I can really do is try to defend Knoxville or leave and give him Knoxville. Those are really my 2 options. And it was getting too late to leave. That's the problem. Like, I had my, you know, I actually could. Because it might not be a bad idea to leave. Let's use these guys for that. What do I have here? Of course, I lose my entrenchment, and that pretty much clearly indicates that I've left. Crap. I'm going to count on him not making it there, but what do I got here? 2 units, 2 units. Let me make life a little bit more confusing. It's not absolutely certain what I've got where. Maybe I've just got the artillery here. Obviously I don't just have the garrison there, but it opens some question up for the Union as to what's where. But the reality is I'm moving the artillery back because I don't want to get slammed out in the open. I have my entrenchment, and if I start moving, I'm in danger. And I can't go chasing after Montgomery or something. Yeah, I might get it, and that would really probably hose Burnside. I don't think he can trace supply off that end of the map right now. Although he should have a wagon. No, maybe he doesn't. I thought he had one. Okay. Yeah, he should be able to trace supply off the map eventually, but not until Chattanooga falls, and he would have to kind of start shifting over. That would change this whole campaign. So, yeah, that's a little weird. All right, it's time for me to actually start work. Good weather, Burnside not moving. I started shifting some forces around here, trying to push through for that big outflank that I'm looking at. Got some problems as the Union. One is, yeah, I can launch an attack here, but I don't know if I've made it through this hex. Let me think. Probably not. Which means that's no big deal though. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think my range is 7, so I could actually fight there in supply. I am guessing that's Cav. Might be wrong. It might be nothing. If it's Cav, My problem is that I still have to do the ugly river crossing fight, but it definitely puts me in a better position to apply pressure to the Confederate flank. However, what if this is the cav? I may need to at least, I'm going to have trouble covering. If I'm here, he could force march to here, and that would be painful to me. Oh, no, he can't, because... Actually, I think he can, because he's leaving. He's not going to be doing any of his march into the rough, I think. Rules are fuzzy. But if that's the case, that could end up behind here, and there's not much I can do about getting my supply line cut. Which means if I don't take Chattanooga, if those are running around, I got an issue. One which might require all of my cav and all kinds of problems. On the other hand, wow, I haven't been trying to recover cav losses. I've been moving around. That's another problem. I'm not sure if I've had a turn where I haven't moved the Union cav, because I did shift my forces. I don't have the capability to force march across the river. You can't do that in this design. So I am kind of cordoned, and that means I'm not going to be able to get a quick jump across. I'm not sure whether or not I want to push there. It might be my best way of dealing with this problem. Other than that, geez. I mean, actually, I can tie this down by just moving cav in there, because I don't have to attack. So that would force the Confederates to do an attack before they could leave. And that would work. Sounds good. Do I want to push through? I don't know. But this is taking so much time, and I'm worried about additional Confederate forces arriving. I really do need to take Chattanooga, and the only way, I just can't do it with these forces. So I think the only way to do it is to push forward with Crittenden and try to push those guys out of the way. To this attack, which I haven't done yet, the Union is pushing some of their cav-ish appearing resources into a position that's threatening the Chattanooga supply line. I don't know if the rebels can hold there. So we may be able to do this without actually much fighting, but I feel like this pressure is necessary just in case this is in danger. I just have to put that additional pressure on Chattanooga. Confederates decide discretion is the better part of valor. They don't want to face an Army Corps in this manner. So when the attack is declared, they withdrew. There's no cav to support them. The Union, my cav went up here. And I think the Confederates are going to give up some territory. That's a big deal for the Union. It means my supply lines are much less likely to be threatened as long as I can keep forces in the Chattanooga area. I just don't think the Confederates can hold that line. Withdrawal, of course, is not going to be trivial. Get this, find out where this goes. Area 86. Finding the areas in this game is a pain in the damn ass. This is 85. 86 may be down here, yeah. Okay. But there are two reinforcements that occurred this turn. One is that cav unit. Hey, that gives me enough force to maybe threaten this. I'm not sure. I'll have to make a decision, because if I'm giving up Chattanooga, trying to go for this doesn't make a lot of sense. And there are other reasons that it kind of is painful. One other thing that happens is General Walker shows up and automatically grabs command of his his division from Breckinridge. That means now I have smaller corps, which can be good and bad. But it means if I want to consolidate, I have to undergo the chance of stealing that unit from Walker and putting it under Breckinridge or whatever again. And then it goes into the DR state, which kind of sucks, to tell you the truth. And then there's one more remaining thing that happens here, which is, no, that's on turn 14. I gotta put a marker there. Check to see if Russellville to Cleveland line is open. I thought that was this turn. So, yeah. So here, this triggers later reinforcements. I'll put that there. But otherwise, I think I've got to start effecting that withdrawal. It may not be a guarantee, but I got to get out of Lookout Mountain. There's not an easy way out of there. That's got to go through Chattanooga or through here. The reason I'm even allowed to do that, because I didn't launch an attack, is that with retreat rule, which I'm going to have to look up, because that may mean my whole army has to go in retreat, or I'm only allowed to move in retreat for the turn. Shit. Let me find that thing. I think there's a specific reference to it in this, in the exclusive rules for this. Can't find anything, so the only thing I can see is the general withdrawal rule, which means everybody's got to start running, and that means abandoning the whole position, really. I mean, yeah, I can kind of pull back towards Ringgold one space at a time, although the Cav have to run harder. But, well, no, actually the Cav aren't under normal command rules, so they're fine. I can do what I like with them. But yeah, that's not a pleasant situation. It's not pretty what had to happen. I did convert Walker over to join Cleburne, and that's kind of cool because I have him under a better leader than he was under, and I got a successful roll for switching him over. Liddell was in range. He didn't get his switch. So, you know, I've got a more concentrated army, but Chattanooga, hey, that could end up in a battle now, because the Union has probably more force, especially if I shift these into play. And Ringgold is not an easily defensible place. It is against this direction. Oh, this is like totally unmovable. This, no, this has a road going through it. But yeah, this one, there's a couple of spaces on the board that are just unusable because of the restrictions of moving into rough terrain. But yeah, I mean, the Confederate line just collapses. My choices were either that or pretty much sacrifice these guys, because again, there's no way out. That rule. You know, I feel like I have to look up that rule now, because maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but it would screw up my entire game if I rough terrain. Due to general ruggedness, rough terrain can only be entered or exited versus a road or trail. And yeah, okay. That's good to know. But yeah, I had to do the general retreat, which I really did not want to do. I wanted to do a very limited version of it and try to hold this for another turn or two. Now, in terms of historical holding of Chattanooga, I think I'm a little better than on schedule. I think I've held it a little longer, which should delay the Union a little bit more. My turn is rain. That's going to cause some issues. Now, there's something kind of magical in play here, which is that Minty and Wilder here, I know that these Cavs don't exist. So I can declare that I'm moving out and pretty much just remove them from the board in that fashion. However, I think I want to recover my stragglers, because the Cav can catch up with the main army. The main army is going to be moving slowly in this rain. Burnsides did not get an opportunity to move. I don't think I mentioned that. Recovering Here, pressing forward, this is my only way to stay in the supply line, and I don't have enough mule trains for that force. There was kind of a bit of misdirection with what was going on. I am launching a major attack into Chattanooga at this point because their forces are weakened, and trying to cut the line, the path of retreat back towards Ringgold. The Confederates have to be really careful. It's hard. This game, like tactical games, it's hard to extract yourself from combat, and I find that kind of a nice aspect of it. Is you're in a battlefield situation similar to what you're in, in some of the bigger battles that cover a fair amount of territory. Even if you're at all nearby the enemy, you kind of have to keep your deployment in, you have to keep a rear guard in place and everything. And that's what we're seeing here, but we're also seeing that in terms of channeling forces out of there. We got to keep something in line to protect that back end. It's not like we just go flying away like in some operational designs. This is my battlefield setup. Let me tell you what I got. I split Thomas's corps and put the reserve with some of it. Normally that causes a penalty, having two corps working together, but the reserve corps is special, and it's allowed to interact with other corps. As long as you're only allowed one leader, but, to have an impact, but that's okay. So I've got leaders and I've got the two corps in place. Against them, it's actually Polk here. I think I'm going to do the center first, and I can reveal that, but my choices were, hey, I'm going to probably be on the 2-to-1 column with each of my attacks. I don't think the Confederates have that much, but that's going to get shifted down to the 1-to-1, which is, they're all kind of shitty. These guys, 2-to-1 and below, the 2 rating is painful. The 2 rating is what you get out of stand versus advance. But if he's standing and I assault, I get him up to the 3 rating. If he's withdrawing, I'm back down to the 2. And so that's kind of the hard thing, but I want to make sure I get it. So I actually threw both columns into assault. However, Polk is withdrawing. That's going to hurt him over on the firepower table. So he still gets his defensive benefit, but the fact that I have 2 columns hitting and a number of other things, I may come out of this better. Maybe. At the very least, I'm getting Chattanooga, which is the important thing. So I like playing out the battles in this, so I think we'll do this. Although I hate the counting. There's a lot of paperwork type counting. Okay, so here I have Granger, who has 13, 20, with an assault. I think that's 3 for the Union, 2 for the Union. So 22, which puts me on the maximum of any table. I'm going to get the leader bonus, where that counts. I'm going to get that with both. But that's not really 22, because the 1st and 3rd divisions each have a hit against them. So I'm actually at like 20 strength points, facing whatever Chatham has left, which is, I think, 7. Okay, 20 to 7 is indeed the 2-to-1. I just missed the 3-to-1 on this. There's a shift against, and then there's also the defensive positioning. So at 2, I do 1 hit on the Union there. And that sucks. Now the fire. Now here's the iffy thing. Does Chatham want to fire back? And because it's raining, I'm going to suffer straggler effects for running away too that are worse than normal. But I want to get out of here. Do I want to shoot back at this unit? This is when my strength is the highest. With a withdrawal, I'm at 7 right now, so yes, I do. So this is where the shoot back happens, and we were talking about 20 strength points to 7. That's going to put him on 7 to 10. 7 to 10. We got rain, though. I'm trying to remember the rain effect. I thought there was a rain effect. Let me look. I thought there's a shift against for rain. Oh, it's a reduction in the rating. So instead of the 3 that I got for the assault versus withdrawal, instead of the 2, it actually goes down to a 1. The Union does not take casualties either. Yeah. So we're on, right? Yeah, that should be, I don't know. I gotta look at the rain effects. One of them gets decreased. I think it's the assault rolls. See, I see A intensity level is reduced. Yeah. Okay. So, and indeed that's here. Great. It's all on here. It's just sometimes hard to find, especially with my eyes. But there's a lot of information contained in the combat table. So we were looking at 7 to 20. So it's 7 for the diversion or withdrawal, and 20 on an assault. I get a shift in my favor for the attack. No bonuses for the flanking situation because it's an attack or flank. Okay. Looks really good for the Confederates. They do a casualty, which I will mark this way. And for the Union, we were on the 18 to 20, shifted up. Only on a 1 or 2 do I do a hit. I do not. And that means the Confederates are probably going to get out of this scot-free because of that defensive thing. Okay, let's look at the other one. Here we have Thomas, who has 15, and 4 is 19. And he has the 2nd and 4th. 19 minus 1 is 18. Okay. 18 to 7 is still that 2 to 1. We drop down to 1 to 1. We're not going to see any problems. Okay. And we were looking at 18 for the table with an assault. That puts us on the furthest table. And still 7 here, so we're still on the same table. It is possible the Union could do 2 damage to the Confederates. Okay, the Confederates do a hit to the Union. I'll put this here to remind me that it's both. And the Union does 1 hit to the Confederates, which is this gun pit. And that's it. Severe stragglers threw Chatham down to an ineffective unit. He only has 4 boxes left out of 5. He can recover that effectiveness, but that makes him even more problematic. And he's got a way to retreat, and problems coming. Army of the Cumberland is now centered at Chattanooga. I gotta look up those gun pits, see what happens about them. Pretty sure they couldn't dig entrenchments while they were there. I'm not sure what happens now. And then we're on to the Confederate turn, and they'll continue their attempt to withdraw. Remain for the game. One kind of interesting thing is, there's very specific fixed defenses for Chattanooga that aren't particularly impressive, but they're, these entrenchment type things that face in one direction. They don't face the river crossings. The assumption is that the enemy won't make it across the river. But when you build entrenchments in the game, there's no such kind of directional concept in them. There are a lot of complex interactions in this game system, and trying to fit that in doesn't really make sense. But as you start looking at the specific rules to games, you start seeing things that you're like, gee, I wonder, use directional entrenchments in tactical games, and they kind of make a specific rule for them here. Why not? Why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't the entrenchments be directional to the expected advance of the enemy? It may be, a level of detail that's too much. Another thing is, there was a price to trying to hold Chattanooga so long, at least in conjunction with Lookout Mountain. I should have been out of there earlier. It cost me the effectiveness of a unit to do it the way I did it. And again, it can recover, but it wasn't pleasant. This game has a very low chance of leader casualties, but again, these are corps commanders. Corps commanders don't usually get shot. It's a big deal that Reynolds gets killed at Gettysburg. You'll seldom see that level of commander getting injured. So you can kind of look at it at that level. It only happens on a brutal combat. What's missing from that, though, is kind of like the chaos of, like Stonewall Jackson's wound and death. Those kind of situations aren't being captured here. That was not a situation where there was this humongous chaotic assault where the casualties were so high, as far as I know. Well, it depends. I mean, the battle was significant at the time. It's just he got caught by a stray chance, which might have happened in a battle which wasn't that bloody. And in fact, the point where Reynolds gets killed in Gettysburg is a situation where it just kind of was a shot out of almost nowhere. There was not a heavy fighting going on when that happened. I feel like there should be. I would like to see the game cover a very low chance of casualties that increase of leader casualties that increases a little bit when the casualty level goes higher, rather than just there's no chance at all unless the casualty levels are up there where the battle justifies that kind of losses. Again, probably too much detail, but it means that if you want to simulate the reality, you have to start tacking on these kind of special rules. Same thing with the Chattanooga rule. And boy, am I chatty. I really like about. I think I'm hitting on something I was just talking about, but I had to go down and get a pipe. One thing I really like about this system, and to a lesser extent maybe the Lee versus Grant games, is they really clearly express the reasons you're falling back. I don't feel that with the one game from the Great Campaigns of the American Civil War that I played, the Stonewall in the Valley or whatever. I felt like I was doing too much geometry in it. This one, because the area effects is very clear, those very strong rail supply lines in Lee versus Grant, and just the way the supply is traced, felt like I was doing something much, much more understandable, intuitive to me than when I was fiddling around with the Great Campaigns. Now, the Confederates have a problem. I'm falling DHL back to Ringgold, great. But beyond that, what is my defensive line? I would like to hold Ringgold if I can. The reason being, that puts Chattanooga back in striking distance. It keeps the Union out of anything like victory point range. So for victory points for the Union, they have 1, 2, 3. Oh look, if I had Major, that's it. But if I give up Ringgold, this one's available and probably going to be lost by the end of the game. So that's my 4th one. So if I don't hold Ringgold, I'm in trouble as far as I see it. I don't see a way around that. If I fall back from Ringgold, then since I know that I have moderate reinforcements, I have given up my 4 victory points. And the Union might not sit on their laurels. I might end up hurting them enough on the advance or as I get more troops. But I'm not going to have that massive counterattack capability. So to me, this is almost a do or die now, where Chattanooga was not. Unfortunately, I'm still facing larger enemy. And what is the defensive line here? That's the problem. The other problem is I didn't have the supplies for Ringgold. But Ringgold remains a supply line no matter what happens. So I can just sit there until I'm forced out of there. And what the defensive line I'm going to form, I think I'm going to build here. And I should put an entrenchment there. I don't know how many troops are going to be needed. I can't hold up here, much as that's attractive. The reason is there's too many different directions here. Now, I'm not too worried about that. That's cav, but I am worried about the eventual advance of the infantry in this direction. So I think I've got to make my line along these three. What about a backdoor entrance? It's possible, but Chattanooga's his supply line. Rosecrans is going to have to go through a lot of work to outflank me from that direction. If they do, I can slap units in there, throw an entrenchment up, and now Ringgold is defended again from that direction. Well, no, there's this too. Yeah, I'm kind of screwed in terms of that. So if he does do the big outflank, the defense would have to go here, which is less appealing. I like the idea of it being real close, but I'll have some warning, so I got to keep that in mind. From this direction, I'm defended here, so he would have to come around this way, totally in the back door. If he does that, I got problems and I got to start thinking, you know. I may have to extend my lines. And the problem with extending your lines is you don't know where the enemy really is in this game. So he can consolidate his forces and hit my line, and he doesn't know where the weak point is, but he can hit my line, which is presumably kind of proportional, and bust a hole through that consolidation. So I especially have to worry in places where maybe there's two entry points into something, but I'm not really worried there. This is the one entry point into two places. That's a different thing. So yeah, just thinking about, like, you know, this is a dangerous place. So if I defend here, if the Union gets this and this, then they've got a double threat, and I don't know how I get out of that, you know. But again, it depends on the amount of forces that are present. All right, let's see what we can do with those rebels. Probe found that there's a lot of Union cav here. I could try fighting them, but they're in defensive terrain, so I brought with my cav. I have some advantages, some disadvantages for that. I brought Breckinridge down to attack them as well. By doing that, I'm going to force them to withdraw, and I'm not going to intercept them. Which I believe cav withdraw does not generate. Oh shit. You know what? I generated stragglers with a cav withdrawal before, and I believe it does not. Oh well. We live with that. These guys can't do anything, so they're just stuck there, causing issues, and I think we're actually done with the turn, and we'll push on to the next one. I gotta look at that cav withdrawal roll, but other than that, yeah. And the last time there was cav withdrawal, was cav withdrawing from cav, which is not the normal cav withdrawal. It was withdrawing after a round of combat, after the chit. It was supposed to take the straggler losses, just like this battle did. So we're good to go. Potentially a big error there. There might have been a need for a Chickamauga battlefield failure roll here. Maximum strength, though, between Thomas and the Reserve Corps was like 38 strength points, and they were down a few already. So this was a safe combination, but I gotta be real careful. If I start combining too many units, I could have a disaster on my hands. Another turn. Where are we? We're in September 6th and 7th. The off-map box, you can see Burnside is ready to act, actually. I'm realizing, wow, I kind of lost an opportunity here. So I shouldn't have consolidated my dummies, whatever, here. I should be sending them around looking like possible cav. Now, the problem with that is I've found Forrest's cav. The other cav hasn't had a chance to go on. So the Union kind of knows it's safe, but yeah, if there was something that looked like it was threatening my supply line, because remember, it can only go through spaces I've moved through. And that's really just these three. That means, I think that's true for the Army of Ohio, that means I have a very, very limited route, you know. In fact, by curving this way, I'm going to have to use my mules to launch an attack on Knoxville, which will slow things down if I don't send somebody up here first. And that means my cav basically has to waste some time. Just because, well, no, wait. 1, 2, yeah, 3, 4. So here I could go 1, 2, 3, you know, but also 3, 4. So the particular path that I took cost me something there. And hey, maybe it means I don't make it. What it does mean, though, is I'm going to cut that rail line before the Confederate reinforcements arrive, whatever those are. Elsewhere on the map, we got to follow the Rebs, and I'm trying to think. I feel like there was something I wanted to say, but now I can't remember it. So now I've got the puzzle of trying to crack this nut without, you know, without consolidating my forces too much, because any battle where I consolidate too many of my forces is a risk. And that's one reason that the Confederates actually do want to have the big battle, because you know, I might want to be all in Ringgold or something like that, because that throws the risk on the Union of losing a wing off the battlefield. In order to adequately supply these guys, I'm not taking supply from here anymore, I'm taking it from Chattanooga. I have to do a little stupid dance, bonk, bonk, so that I move through this space, because now I can trace the supply. And that makes perfect sense. I've cleared the supply route. I moved into the cav probe here. I found a couple of cav. I know it's about the same size as my cav force, or maybe bigger. I only have 10, which I revealed. I showed 9 of theirs. I don't think there's a big advantage to attacking, but I want to remain here in order to defend, although that does kind of tie the units down, sort of. That is my positioning, with 1 Corps moving up this way. I don't remember who that is. 20th Corps, what's this? Crittenden? No, McCook. Nobody good. McCook there. I think this is Crittenden. He's moved up into this rough that I don't really want to attack in, and Thomas in the reserve here, ready to put pressure there. So now the Confederates have to make a judgment as to whether they want to make one big block. If they do, it's got to be at Ringgold, because I can't defend, I can't give up either of these spaces. And if I don't give up Ringgold, or if I don't go down to Ringgold, then the Union could even actually try to work to get around the backside. A lot of the dummies out here are gone. Let's put this here. For whatever that matters, which is essentially nothing. The cav blew these away by trying to leave, and the other ones I removed from the map because I might want them, and I used some of them. The rest I put in a pile here, and that'll be the rebel turn. I forgot, Burnside, I did not move him, so he gets his chance to move. He's going to declare an attack, and there ain't nothing there. So, that gets rid of some more dummies off the board. Somehow I can't help but add the S to his name that doesn't exist. Actually, I'm fine. So I can trace 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 into there and be fine. What I didn't realize was this connection was there. As long as that connection is present, now I can trace directly to Kingston. I don't have to go through Loudon. Rebel side of the turn, not challenging the Union anywhere. I'm falling back and consolidating my forces here. I believe that will force the Union to hit me with a big pile of troops, or I'll outnumber them. Yes, I'm giving up the advantage of the rough terrain. That's painful, but I just couldn't hold that many different locations against the line. And with this road, it means that this is the only way out for the Union, and they have to really kind of go out of their way. If they want to start that big outflank, you know what? We'll let them. It'll let us eventually maybe consolidate a defense on Ringgold. Entrenching everywhere, larger force being built up here actually, and some calves slipping around here. I don't know about these guys. What are they up to? The Union does not know what they are. I'm gonna, present some sort of threat up there, see if the Union reacts to it. It may force the Union to launch an attack here before they're ready, but the big thing is I've got Stuart's cav coming around this way, so that's that. No recovery for the rebel infantry. Let's see if we can pop out another turn. This is the big turn. I am going to consolidate and launch an attack here. I just don't see any way that I'm going to avoid the consolidated attack. Let's get it out of the way early. If we can win it, great. If we can't, well, at least we can come back and hit them again. What might happen, though, is that it remains over our heads like a sword of Damocles, because it's only like a 1/3 chance for each segment of the battle. I chose not to attack here because McCook sucks. And I don't want to get him massacred when he remains as sort of a useful flanking force. Granted, I've got Crittenden over here, but I could actually break into just 2 wings. There are advantages to a 3rd wing, though, so I may just use him and hope for the best. 1/3 of a battle being of a command structure in a battle being problematic is a little different from the whole damn thing. For the cav, I cheated. Are the rebels willing to bottle the Union, to let the Union cav bottle up? I actually don't know, is the problem. I think I will block them and not attack, which is going to change what the Union did here. We'll throw Watkins in here. And this cav will stay here to protect. This is protecting this supply line. That could get kind of tricky. Because Chattanooga itself is not protected. It's Chickamauga over here. That's where it's supposed to happen. But this unit can do a lot of threat, and it may force me to cover here as well. I have not yet decided what to do with these. I think I'm going to move them to cover the pack trains. That'll let me move to Chattanooga if I need to. Alright, so instead of the big battle happening at Chickamauga, it would be named instead Graysville. Take a look at the Battle of Knoxville here. And we've got all of Burnside in one wing. He's all there. That's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and a half. This is going to be defensive terrain, but not rough. versus, of course, a stand order. I'm actually assaulting because I don't want to get this one result, but if I end up in the 1 to 2 or something, that's problematic. But I don't think it's going to happen. Because the garrison is with regular units, it's full strength. So that's 9, and 6 is 15. Leadership values, the advantages on the Confederates. We're looking at a 1 to 1, but with a 3 total because it's stand versus assault. And there's nothing, you can't hold territory without risking the 3 table. And the 3 table is great because it's 1 hit against each. However, the Confederates have their entrenchment, so I'll flip that over to remind me. That puts me to the fire side of it. And I mean, this is really basically an attrition battle. Once again, we're looking at 19 and 15. Stand at 15. Assault at 19 with a shift there, so we're on this table. The Union gets a nice 2 hits. The Confederates do 1. So that actually means both sides are going to take 2 points of casualties. That's a pretty good result for this round. Now, if we look at the, let me look at the casualty thing. So we're at a 3 intensity, which means it doesn't have to be, what's weird is it has to be a big battle to get somebody hurt, a corps commander hurt, if it's low intensity. But this is a fairly high intensity battle, so there's actually maybe a chance. I feel like, okay. Casualty is 3 or 4. An officer casualty happens if the line position loses 3 or more strength points during the round. Well, no, nobody did. As usual, it's almost impossible to get casualties. You have to have so many people consolidated into a line. And somehow that mass of men makes it more likely for the officer to be one of the ones that catches a bullet. I'm not sure I understand that. Yeah, the enemy has to have so many people consolidated in one. So there's a lot of lead coming at you. My goal is to clear Knoxville. You know, I'm just going to have to keep grinding. I'm throwing another round of combat in. These are gone. This is reset. And we're in the same position. We could choose different tactics here, but again, the Confederates don't want to withdraw, and they don't want to lose their defensive advantage, so they're fixed. The Union's made its choice of what it wants to do. So that's a casualty there, and this flipping over. And we see if we get a lucky shot here. The numbers are now 17.5 and 13. I don't remember which way around. 13, and then we go to here, so we're going to be on these 2 columns. The Union, okay, so this is where it would be differentiated, so I got to worry about it. But the Union definitely takes a second loss. The Confederates may take a loss. I have to look at the rounding rules for combat. Looking things up, let's see if I get a 1 or a 2. That'll fix the issue. Then the Confederates do take a loss. I do, so I can put that off. Really eagle-eyed people might note, I'm kind of cheating here. I do this sometimes. This is 6 units in a stack. You're only allowed 5. It makes no difference because there are no cav around or anything. So rather than break it apart, I just want to point that kind of thing out. You know, whatever. All right, now on to the big battle. Battle of Graysville. Confederates have Polk's Corps, which consists of 1 ineffective division. That kind of has to go into the reserve. My other units are standing because I do have defensive positioning on them. The Union has 1 extra wing position in play. If I had put everybody in 1 wing, the Union could only use 2. That wouldn't actually hurt them. Because of the reserve corps, they have 2 regular corps. They could set things up in such a way that they could operate nicely. So what do we got here? Well, we got the problem of the potential battlefield collapse. The Union has to announce that they're eligible for it, and now they roll a die. On a 1 or 2, bad stuff happens. Oh, terrible. Okay. One of my line positions is going to go to withdrawal. Of course, that's going to be my worst commander, Crittenden. So his attack actually becomes a withdrawal order. Is this right? It's when the Union's attacking, I believe. No, this is where the Union's the defender. Ah, no problem whatsoever. Okay, so I get to move forward. I thought it was only when the Union's an attacker. Again, I'm not really familiar with Chickamauga, except Thomas being the rock. Well, I made the choices. You can see I've got assaults down. I got to decide which thing I want to resolve first. I can't make my mind up what it matters. Let's do the wing first. Okay. So here we have Thomas hitting this. And that's under Stuart. Stuart's going to get the defensive bonus for leadership in addition to his entrenchment and the defensive bonus for the terrain. So this is not a great situation for him. My numbers, when you have this many, no matter what, the rules for combat are so complex in this game that I kind of have to look them up fairly often. But definitely the combat chart, which contains most of what I need, also requires a lot of reading, as I mentioned. But now I also have to count. So Thomas has 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Division, which are down 2, 3, 4 strength points. So I'm at 14, 20 minus 4 is 16. To the rebels, who have a grand total, of course, a stand of Stuart, who probably is full strength. But I don't want to just assume. Yep. At 9. I'm doing an assault versus a stand on the 1-to-1 table. Oh shit. I forgot about the defensible terrain over here. There should be more Union casualties. Let me do 2 more Union casualties to Burnside's. Hold on. He's trying to kill himself. Okay. So, yeah. This is why you don't do assault, but the problem is you take an extra casualty no matter what. So you might as well deal an extra casualty too if you're on the offensive, which the Union is right now. So we go up to 3, so that's 2-to-1. The Confederate uses theirs up. The Union takes 2 hits. Those aren't counted yet. Now we're on the 16 and 9 tables. Yeah, I thought things were going too well. Assault at 16. Stand all the way down here at 9. Ouch. 1 shift for leadership. So we're on those 2 tables. And the Union craps out. And let me see. 9 with a shift. The Confederates cause a 3rd loss to the Union. That is not a good fight on that wing. Let me record the casualties. It was a big enough situation where the attacker took enough losses that they've got a chance of losing Thomas. They do not. Got Granger in the center wing. Let me do the add up there. That's 7 and 8 is 15. He's got the 4th Division. 15. Make it 14. And the reserve is still here as well. 14. No losses. plus 6 is 20. I'll write this over here. And for the Confederates, I've got Walker and Cleburne under Cleburne. No problem there, no problem there. This is pretty good. So that's 17 and 6 is 23. Now, here I believe timing matters. So if the Confederates don't fire here, they take losses, but I'm not positive about that. Is this where I want to launch my fire? I don't know. Let me think. Let me look to see if it is simultaneous between these two wings that are hitting the center or not. Because if it's not, I may want to pick on this wing and try to collapse it. Because this looks pretty healthy and hardy. And, well, here's the thing though. I cancel out a bonus here. Yeah, I want to cancel out. I want to cancel out the bonus on the fire table. I don't want to let them have a fire table bonus. Although I would probably get one here. So it's still kind of a mixed thing, because, but I do cancel this out no matter what. Oh no, I cancel out the fire table bonus anyway. I get a fire table bonus on both. Let me look at the timing. Here's the problem. After completing the die rolls on the fire combat result table, all strength point losses are applied, which means, you know, you score both the CIC automatic losses and the fire table results at the same time. But when there's multiple wings hitting one wing, how is that worded? And does it matter? You know, do I believe do I want to accept their rules? Because, yeah. Trying to see that. Line position limits, restrictions, unequal line positions. If the attacker has fewer, we'll have to attack 2 or more. So what they don't say is that it's simultaneous or not. And the thing that leads me to say it isn't is that you kind of resolve one wing at a time somewhere, I believe. Although I'm not absolutely certain of this. I think that's where I was drawing this from. After all line positions, reveal all combat. Each opposing line is resolved separately. The attacker announces which will be resolved first. So I feel like the attacker has the option to reduce, you know, the attacker has the option to pick them, and that's important, and the order actually is important for some reason. I may be reading too much into this, because the question is, should these be hitting simultaneously? I don't know. I really don't know. You can look at this as kind of an echelon attack or something like that. So what do the Confederates want to do? Well, I'm going to not be able to get a combat bonus against these. I have a lot of strength points. I'm probably not going to take a whole lot of damage. What am I at? I'm at 23. I'm probably not going to get reduced. I'm going to hold my fire until I hit that. Okay, so, and I am assuming timing matters. I think I've resolved this before in my own head. So we're on the intensity level of 3. What is our attack value? It's actually 1 to 2 to begin with a shift against. At combat intensity 3, the Union takes 2 hits to begin with. This isn't good. Now for the fire table, we're still on 20 for assault to 23 without, and neither side has an attack bonus, so they're on that same table. The Union craps out again, doing absolutely nothing. The Confederates do a third hit on this line. They get a chance to kill Granger. That'd be cool. They do. There goes Granger, and I'm going to put him here to remind me that he has to be replaced next to command phase, but there's no commander there now. That's a big deal. And now I resolve the casualties on the charts. We swing to the third wing, which is also assaulting. Not wise. This is why you don't. This is why you outflank, and this is also why you don't launch all-out assaults. I wasn't realizing how much I was going to be stumbling into, though. So these guys didn't take any losses, so they're still at their 23. But the Union is here at 18. This is Crittenden. 18, he's taken no losses. Plus 4, that's going to be 22. But again against 23. That again works out to 1-2 and 2 losses over on the Union side. And now we're at an assault on the full column over here. Crittenden is outmatched, but there's no Confederate die roll. And that's where the difference kind of is. I couldn't outmatch him. I could outmatch Crittenden. But I could have taken losses. So, this time the Union does 2 casualties to the Confederates, which works out to that and a 1-point hit. I'll record those losses, and then I have to make the decision whether the Union wants to continue the assault, or if the Confederates want to turn the tide. Now, turning the tide is cool because I get to pull the Chickamauga rules into play. It's lousy because I'm outnumbered. I do not want to assault. I don't want to launch an attack against the Union. So it's pretty much up to the Union whether or not they're going to continue this battle. I believe they're not going to. The problem with they're not going to is, what does that mean strategically? I can pull out of Graysville on my next turn because I've got an attack chit there. I can't move closer to the enemy because I'm presuming this is within it better be the troop density. That's 20. Oh, maybe not. It needs 28 strength points to defend. Wow, I could just push through to Ringgold. Would that make sense? Well, I wouldn't be in supply unless I'm here, which would mean to continue this battle, I would have to push out of here into there. I don't have to actually attack. I could just, guard a supply line going in. And hit the main line. There's not enough Confederate troops to stop me. I am definitely not going to fight another round, and the Confederates are definitely not going to do so either. Confederate side, I opened things up with a couple cav probes here to see what I can find. And doing sort of maximal strength with, oops. That's +1, not -1. Okay, I'm able to reveal the entirety of the Union force. That means I have a cav advantage. I believe I'm going to launch an attack there and see what I can do to the Union cav. It can't get away. Not easily, not without a withdrawal marker. That means, what else? Well, definitely going to slip into the hills here and see what kind of mayhem I can cause. Those are just dummies. Nothing going on at Knoxville. I'm not going to attack or anything. But this is the big question. How do I resolve this? Well, what I've decided is I'm going to stand another turn in defense because I want to get Polk's division into effectiveness. The Union has kind of failed. Now, I could launch an attack and maybe get the Chickamauga result and maybe get some better effects, but this is defensible terrain. I'm outnumbered. I'd have to basically bring these guys in. That's crossing a major river. If I bring them in through Ringgold, that's fine. I just don't feel like this is the turn to do that. As long as these guys are holding this line here, I think I'm okay. So for the most part, the Confederates are doing nothing. So the Cav battle down here at Lafayette. Union put in one line. So did the Confederates. The reason being, they want to be able to do something somewhat aggressive and cause damage, and they think they're going to end up on the 1-to-1 chart. They know what the Union has, at least the units they have. They don't know the exact strength, but they have an estimate. So we put everything into play and threw an assault order. The assault order isn't so good when you hit sort of moderately high odds. When you get ridiculous high odds, you might as well. But it means I'm going to not take advantage of all my firepower, though, which is kind of a problem, I think. Wait, no, everything's halved. Screw that. Okay. So what do we have here? We have 9, 23, 27. No, we're not going to get it all. So we have 24 on attack. No, 12 on attack. Halved. And the Union has 10, 14. Is my cav all together? No, it's not. But that comes out to 7. So that ends up as a 1-to-1 anyway. The Union decided to withdraw, which means that assault against a withdrawal gives us only a column 2, which is indeed the loss we did not want against the Confederates. However, where it's impressive. So we're doing an assault at 12 with 2 column shifts because we have both of Forrest's cav here. And we're facing a 7 on withdraw, which is all the way down here. There's no leadership bonus, so let's see if I can remember my columns. Okay, a 7 on withdraw is a star. What were we at? 14, 12. Same thing. With 2 shifts, with a 2, we cause 1 casualty to the Union, but the Union has a chance to do a casualty to the Confederates. They do not, and the Union has to suffer straggle losses for withdrawing. It's this turn, we had what I thought was kind of a climactic looking battle, but this is one of the issues that I kind of have with this game. Very few Civil War battles, and honestly with the Great Campaigns too, very few Civil War battles last more than a couple days. The ones that do are at the end where everybody's totally fortified and, you know, they're basically more sieges than anything else. But this game uses 2 days per turn. Now, assume you could do 2 rounds of battle, conceivably, over each of 2 days, but that seldom happens. What's more likely, what seems to be more often the case, is this kind of, yeah, we're not pressing the battle as hard as those historical battles because we have other things we can do that are advantageous. Every now and then you have a situation where one side feels like it has a significant advantage and really needs to fight the battle to get it done. This was one such case until I calculated the casualties correctly, but whatever. It feels to me like the battles are not bloody enough, are not decisive enough. Now, and I have the same issue with the Great Campaigns. They feel more like skirmishes to me. Like the minor battles that are happening during this campaign, during this operation. But actually capturing the reality of the big battles, that's hard to do. Now, for one thing that you have to keep in mind is most of those big battles, like in my 7 days situation, aren't just fixed on one space. So, it would not be unreasonable to look at if this battle was happening and this battle was happening at the same time. And again, stretching over a couple of turns is reasonable. If battles start stretching out more than that, and if the armies can continue to fight at full value without one side breaking or the other for more than a couple days, for more than a couple turns in this game, you have a problem. And I think that's quite possible. You have to remember, like, Gettysburg is 3 days. It's one of the longer battles by far. And it's conceivable it could have gone a 4th day, but that's still really just 2 turns, at most. It's basically, they fought the first 2 rounds, more troops come in, and then in the second day, in the second turn, maybe they fight 2 more rounds, because it was pretty hefty. But you can't look at each round as a day of combat in that case. You have to kind of abstract it. But then you can't go on to another round, another day, another turn's combat, even if you went to that 4th day, and the casualties were huge. Now, again, that might be a battle that's taking place over like several of these spaces. It might not be appropriate to play this game at that scale. You may have to really tinker with or try to find something. And the first game in this series was Gettysburg, and it probably didn't work very well. That would be my feeling. It definitely got reworked, and this is a series that's more about maneuver than anything else. Anyway, I'm going to send this one up because it's obvious this game is going to keep going, and I'm already over the hour that I usually like to do. Loss of Thomas, though, that's a big deal. We got to replace him. I don't know who his replacement is. What is he, 14th? Is that Baird then? Oh no, it's the reserve, Granger. I thought it was Thomas. I got no idea who's in the reserve. Steedman. Definitely a downgrade. Okay, but still a decent leader as opposed to like Crittenden and such. An average leader. All right, let's send this up.